Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you how to make Sheriff Woody from Toy Story. Hooray! Alright, we got Sheriff Woody. Isn't he lovely, folks? Our Toy Story guy came back for round 4 and I'm going to show you how to make him in a flat this time. I rolled out some of this mustardy kind of yellow color. That's going to be his shirt. I found a picture of him and Buzz together that I printed out and cut out and then traced out on the yellow, as you see here. I traced out his entire body and in between his boots there at the bottom, and then again in between his legs a little bit, just so that he is very, I don't know, floppy-legged like he's supposed to be. Okay, once you have the yellow out, lay it on top of a paper towel or something so when you move it around it stays nice and safe. And we're going to give him his pants first because really, you know, no Toy Story Disney character should be running around without pants. And Donald Duck is really kind of who I'm thinking of here. But anyway, okay, we got his pants. I cut out, as you can see, one leg, the leg that's closest to us, and his bottom part of his jeans there. The other leg is behind his body, so I'm going to cut it out separately. You can see me doing it in the background there. And I'm going to cut it out separately and then lay it right there across the first leg. And matching it up, I'm going to trim out the first leg in order to make it fit properly and make it look like it's overlapping. But it's overlapping the way it should, the way it should be. So now his legs are crossed. Yes, there you go. And now I have his boots. I'm cutting them out also into a very thinly rolled brown. And when I make these figures, I take the print that I make from the computer and print it out, and then I just start cutting it up in order to put the pieces together. It makes it a lot easier. So that's why I have his two boots trimmed out. I had his leg cut out by itself and his other leg by itself. Once you get them all trimmed out, put them right on top, and you might find that the yellow sticks out a little bit too far, doesn't match up perfectly. Just trim away the yellow like I did there. And where would our Sheriff Woody be without his hat? So using the same color brown as his boots, I again cut the hat out from the template that I was using, stuck it on his head, and anywhere that it doesn't match up just perfectly, I make it match up. Darn it, it's going to match. So there. I took a darker brown. I just added more food coloring to it. I didn't do anything else special. And made the band of his hat. And now I'm going to cut out his face. I totally jump all over the place with these guys. But it works, so, you know, whatever. Okay, so his face is just a peachy color, the same one we did for Buzz if you followed along with that video or remember it, or if you don't, check it out, a little plug there. And just like before again, stick it on there, match it up to the hat. It doesn't have to be perfect because his hair is going to cover anything that doesn't work. His red bandana is red, just like I said. Trim it out, stick it on. We're going to add a little dot for a knot later on. And it just has to go across his top. You can see in the cutout right there of his arm and his chest to the right in the screen here. He's got a collar and a vest and everything. We're going to get to that, so don't worry about that yet. Okay, more of the same color brown of his hat and boots. I'm just adding a couple pieces on for his belt. His belt is pretty big and wide, and there's not a lot of sections to it, so it's pretty easy. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. And his hair is the same dark color brown that the band on his hat was. Again, I cut it out of the template, made it its own separate little piece, put it on. It doesn't match up just perfectly, so I'm just going to kind of tap and press and push and force my way to make it do what I want. Darn it, it will go where I want it to go. So make sure you get it around his ear kind of like that. And then one little thin stripe, which took no skill or trimming or anything, just across the top because his hair does show across the top of his head a little bit in my imagination. In the picture there it doesn't, but in my world it does. So there, this is my world. Okay, I used white and kind of made a weird little shape to go for the vest. And then I took a piece of yellow and rolled it out flat and folded it under and just placed it on top of the vest and his chest to make it look like his arm is crossed. It looks kind of weird right now, but it will come together. His arm and chest and shirt and everything are kind of complicated, especially with his hands crossed, but I simplified it all, so it'll work out. And the red pen, you see, I'm just making crisscross pattern to imitate the checkered pattern of his shirt. Just make sure you go all over all the yellow that you got there for his shirt, and then it'll look just right. I'm using my blue edible food coloring marker to highlight around his jeans. He kind of like Buzz, because he's a toy, I guess, has a seam going down the front of his legs, so that's what that is there. I'm using a brown food coloring marker to highlight his hair a little bit. And because my big hand is in the way and I don't have fancy recording equipment, I'm just telling you about this. Across that top of the hat, the brim of the hat there, you see like the little loops? He's got kind of like these little stitching loops, so all I did was kind of make like W's, like loop, 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 all over across the top. His boots down bottom go across the bottom where the heel is. Make a line come down, go across the flat of his foot where he'd step, just to kind of set it apart, and because it looked like it was there, so I drew it out. And I'm also tracing around the top of his boots where the seam would be. Okay, so there you go. All trimmed out nicely. Okay, back to his vest. Again, I said I jump around. I warned you guys. I just tried to highlight around the edge of the vest on the bottom and around his sleeve and put some lines out like that's where the edge of the cow vest is, and colored in some black spots. If you are up for it, go for it with black food coloring, or I'm sorry, black gum paste and not using food coloring, but I just colored it in. 2 white dots for his eyes. I matched up the face that I had showed you before and just put a little mark where the eyes are and then stuck them there. The brown that is all googly-eyed there, I just thought was funny looking. That's going to be his irises, and then I use black food coloring marker going dot dot to make his pupils, and there you go, dot dot. Now he can see us with his creepy coming to life at night eyes. The face, I just drew it on. I gave him 2 eyebrows, a smile with a little bit of a line under it for a bottom lip, and his nose. His nose is kind of long and pointy, so don't get shy with that. And a little loop and accent to separate the neck and head from his ear and chin. This little ball of beige is going to be his hand. I rolled it out like that, kind of flat on one side, a little stumpy on the other. I'm just using my X-Acto knife. I'm going to cut 5 lines. You're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is. And then I'm going to trim it off because I realize that your thumb doesn't line up like that with the rest of your fingers when you put your hand across the other arm. Trim them off, clean them up, make them look good, whatever you need to do. And this is where I said before, like the picture is pretty heavily detailed when it comes to this part of him, and I simplified it and it worked. So take the hand, fold it over just like that, and it looks like he's crossing his arms. So a little nice simple cheat there for you guys. The same color yellow that we've been using before goes across the bottom of his boots. This is where his spurs, I guess, would be attached. They kind of bend down a little bit. They follow the curve of the ankle, so make sure you don't have them going quite straight across. But just bend them down, trim them off, and there you go. And because he does have spurs sort of on them, or the spur gripper things, I took the same thickness as those top bands, just sliced it in half and put the piece that goes down between his heel, like underneath his boot there. If you make the print, you'll see it. So that's all that is right there. Nice and simple. I'm putting a little ball of yellow on each one, and darn if this one wouldn't come off of my hand. I literally had to cut out like 30 seconds of me fighting to get that ball off of my finger. I also added a bit of yellow there to his belt to make his buckle. Make a little bullhorn face on it, and you got Woody. There you go. So yeah, there you go. Toy Story, looking good. Check out my other videos. I got Buzz going. I'll have some other Toy Story themed ones coming up. Hopefully you'll like and subscribe. Thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.